Hello everyone, my name is Xinshe Wang. I'm a fourth-year PhD candidate at Carnegie Mellon University, working on 3D computer vision and autonomous driving. But today's talk will be a bit different because we will not talk about any of the research work. Before I start, let me first thank the organizers of this ICCV workshop to provide me an opportunity of sharing my stories prior to and during my PhD journey, which I hope can be helpful to some of the students in the future. Also, one thing I would like to point out is that not all of the stories I share today are positive. In fact, many of them are negative examples, but I hope that they can kind of provide some insights about what you can do to become even a bit better. Okay, let's get started. First of all, I would like to be very clear about the targeted audience of this talk, considering that the ICCV conference is large and there are potentially a wide range of participants in this workshop. So this talk, which is about sharing my story for PhD applications and some suggestions during your early PhD time, is targeted for undergraduate, master, and junior PhD students. Also, as people may be at different stages or at different levels, I will mainly talk about the typical situations, but will try to cover the suggestions for other situations as well. In particular, in this talk, I will cover tips for PhD applications, how you can make the core part of your application stronger. Also, I will talk about how to manage multiple projects from the perspective of students rather than managers or advisors. Although some students might face the challenge of leading multiple projects earlier or later, it will typically happen when people enter master or PhD, so this is really a challenge that we need to tackle. First, let's talk about suggestions and stories about PhD applications. Here, I listed the typical PhD application packages, including recommendation letters, statement of purpose, publication records, resume, and grades. I guess everyone knows that you should do better in all of these items to make your package stronger, but today I will mainly talk about the first one, that is how to get strong recommendation letters, which I think is also the most critical one. But remember, when you try to build connections for your recommendation letters, you have to do a great job in your projects, which are kind of improving your SOP, resume, and publications as well. So the most important tip, I think, is to build your research and connections early. Why is that? Because you want to put sufficient time in your project with different advisors so that you can make sure to get strong letters from all of them. So what are those connections and where did you get it? Typically, you can work as a research assistant or visiting student at a university research lab, or you can also find some internships at a company which have the research opportunity. But sometimes if your internship is unfortunately not research oriented, that is not the end of the world. You may still get a strong letter if you show great implementation skills. Finally, how to get these opportunities? There are many ways as I listed here. For example, you can send emails to professors, but please make sure that your email is well prepared. You should include a professional CV, and also you should briefly describe how your previous experiences can be helpful to the project they are interested in. If you cannot get a good opportunity yourself, you can also ask your current advisor to help, as they may have a lot of good connections. And important thing is that don't be shy here. Good advisors are often very supportive, so they will be happy to help. For opportunities at companies, you can also ask your seniors for an internal recommendation, which is quite common. And finally, your course instructors may also do research that you're interested in, so do some search about their research interests and reach out to them either before or after classes. Okay, we have talked about high-level idea about what's good to do. Now, before sharing my own story, let me provide a suggested timeline for references. Suppose that you have made a decision about doing PhD in sophomore, and typically you may have finished basic courses, so you may want to start ramping up wrapping up into research in your third year of undergraduate. The first project may take a long time, for example 2 years, which is normal because you still have to take major courses or you have to improve your implementation skills and read a lot of papers. So be sure to be patient here if you want to ultimately have a high quality project and a strong letter for sure. Then suppose you would like to make your application stronger and do a master's degree, reach out to the potential advisor Ernie at the university you have decided to go. If possible, you may want to start your project during the summer before the fall semester starts. Because during the summer, you can really focus on the project versus during the fall, you have to take courses and do homework. And you should really do much faster in the second project as you have experiences before. Hopefully, this can give you a second strong letter and a paper at the top conference after a year of research. Since the application season is late in the fall in the second year, you still have time to do a third project. You can reach out to a different professor, or you can do a research-based summer internship at the company. However, 3 months are really short, so you may want to extend your internship or project into the fall to make the project complete with high quality. Based on this ideal timeline, you should have sufficient time for 3 really strong first author projects, with each of them giving you a strong letter and a paper. So that is the suggested timeline for typical students. What about people at better situations? For example, you may do a project faster, especially in the first one. Sometimes you can reduce your course load by doing research, or you just have better implementation skills than others. Also, you may complete your summer project by the end of the summer, so you can have time to do an additional project. Both of these are really good, but please make sure you really finish the project with a high quality. Do project quickly by sacrificing the quality is not wise, as you may not get strong letters. Also, throughout the years, you may collaborate with others to get additional papers. This can be a bonus, but you should really focus on your main projects and build your own representative works. In addition to the so-called good scenarios, I think we should talk more about scenarios where people might be worried, or so-called bad scenarios. I put a double quote here because it might not be really bad, you never know. Okay, so what are these situations? For example, you may find there's nearly no research opportunity for you, either due to limited research resources at your university, or students in your program are restricted to do research. Sometimes people might also ask, what if I do not execute a project very well, maybe due to life pressure, medical conditions, communication issues, and etc. Also, it's common that students may start late in the timeline because you might be unsure if to do a PhD at an earlier time, or you don't know what's a good time to start. First of all, I would like to say that all of these situations are really normal and life is uncertain. So the most important thing you need to do is really to calm down. As this is not the end of the world, let me share my story and tell you why. Like many others, I do not know if I would like to pursue a PhD during my undergraduate time. So although I entered a research lab in my third year for a CV project, there is no clear goal of doing high quality research. So I was just doing it as a part-time for fun. At the end, I learned a bit of knowledge in CV but has no research products such as papers. If I rethink now, the most useful thing I think about this undergraduate project is that it really brings me into the CV world that I'm excited about, which is why I entered the CV master program at CMU. However, the real challenges came during my master. The first challenge is that the CV master program that I entered is an industry-oriented program, meaning that it's not designed for heavy research focus. As a result, I get no response from many professors, as professors typically do not hire masters in my program to do research, and also my research background is not strong. That's one of the most important reasons as well. But luckily, this is also the time I met my current advisor, Chris Kitani. He's really nice as an advisor. Everyone just says that. And to me, the most important thing is, after reaching out to many professors, he's the only one who accepted me to join his lab and started a research project. However, things are not easy since this was my first research project in CV. It really took me a while to ramp up, and also have to take 3 courses at CMU in the first semester. That's crazy, you know. This made me have very limited time to work on research and also under great pressures. However, things didn't become even better in the second semester, since I have to work on another capstone project required by the program, which really needs a lot of time and effort in addition to the course load. What's fortunate is that I met another very important person to me, Yasser Sheikh, who is also my capstone project advisor. Initially, it was super hard to me due to the extreme pressures brought by 2 research projects at the same time while taking other heavy courses at CMU. Think about it, I was just like a CV beginner to work on 2 research projects, you know, and I have no past research experiences. After struggling for the whole semester, I finally survived and have my first paper published at WCAG. It's not a strong paper at all, but at least finishing this project relieved a lot of my pressures. As a result, I focused almost all of my time in the summer and early fall to my capstone project. Although I have low strong publication records by the application deadline, both of my advisors really saw the progress I made and also my research potential. This helped me to get 2 strong recommendation letters at the end, which is why that I can get into CMU as a PhD. So overall, I really appreciate that both Yasser and Chris, they recognized me when I was in the early stage of research. Honestly, without their help, I wouldn't be here. But the most important thing I would like to share is that, you see, I have encountered all of these bad scenarios, right? Like starting late, almost low research opportunity, and failed with publication, and etc. So my story tells you that even if you faced these situations, there are still ways to succeed in PhD applications. The key takeaways are, we really need to try hard to find research opportunities, even if it may look like there's no opportunity. Second, if you are really in a bad situation, try to squeeze your time for other things and devote to research, because you really need sufficient time to succeed in research. Also, sometimes even if you do not have a strong paper at the end, the progress you made is there, which may also grant you a strong recommendation letter regardless of the paper. Third, start early if possible, because this can really increase the robustness of your application. Sometimes you failed in a project and has no hope to get a strong letter, or you just want to have a healthy nap and prevent extreme pressures. Finally, you may need some luck and meet with the right advisor for you. I put this one at the end doesn't mean it is the least important. In fact, it is because this is something you might have the least control of. But there's still something you can do. For example, do research for each professor and talk to their students. But unfortunately, sometimes if you don't have a choice, because there's limited opportunity for you, in my case, I really have to thank Chris and Yasser. Alright, now let's move into the other topic about managing multiple projects. First of all, I choose this topic because I think it is really common, even for junior students such as master or PhD. To be clear, when we talk about project management here, it's different from the perspective of professors or managers, where they need to decide what project to initiate and how to leverage the skills of everyone in the team to the best for the project. In contrast, for junior students, sometimes we will need to take the lead and implement for multiple projects, so it would be good to know how we should do it. First, I listed some common projects you might encounter as a junior student. For example, you may have funded a project that requires code delivery to a sponsor, and the project might be not very research-focused. In other words, it might just be re-implementation of existing techniques to different domains. Also, some funded projects might be research-oriented. You might work with a scientist from the company, and you are expected to publish. Of course, since you are a master or PhD student, you have your thesis project with your advisor, which might be relevant to, but not the same as your funded projects. As a junior student, you also have plenty of courses, and some courses may have the project at the end. Besides this, you can have side project with your advisor or an independent research project that you work for your own interest. Finally, collaborative projects are also common when you share similar interests with other researchers. You see, being a graduate student can be really busy if you end up with many projects. Typically, I believe the goal is that you don't want to mess up any project that you're involved and leave bad impression to others, such as your advisors, your sponsors, instructors, and collaborators. So how can we achieve the goal? Let me share some strategies first that I have learned over time from my past experiences. First, and most importantly, you really want to focus on one or at most two projects at a time, because sufficient time efforts are needed in order to succeed. For example, what you can do is to prioritize projects based on responsibility and deadlines. For example, funded projects, required course requirement, and your thesis projects. These are something you need to do for sure, so put them on a higher priority and keep an eye on the deadline. For example, in the case there is a deadline for code delivery of a funded project in 2 weeks, please focus on it before the deadline and then shift focus to other responsibilities later. This means that sometimes you need to push other long urgent projects later if possible, or only fulfill basic requirements of them. Okay, even if we have prioritized the projects, sometimes there could be still multiple deadlines coming together. What should we do? I would suggest to connect and reuse projects to further reduce the load and leave the time for important things. So what does this mean? For example, when you work on the funded research projects, instead of randomly choosing hot topics, you really want to make it directly contribute to your thesis directions. So you can spend less additional efforts for a thesis. Also, you can inform your advisor of the progress you have made on the independent research projects so that he or she recognizes your work as a side project. This is good as they know what you are doing. Maybe there's also a connection between this project with one of your courses. In this case, be sure to reuse the project to save the efforts of initiating a new project for your course. Now we know the trick of reusing projects to save efforts. We might still not be able to handle multiple projects. This can happen. It just means that the projects you are involved are beyond your capacity. So, to have a healthy life, you should also learn to reject projects or avoid creating too many projects. For example, the open collaborative projects, independent research projects, or some side projects. The goal is to have your project responsibility within your capacity so you can really focus on the most important projects, such as your thesis, your courses, and funded projects. Also, sometimes you need to be clear about your capacity at the beginning. For example, if you already run out of your time for implementing your main projects, be sure to inform your teammates that you might not be able to help the implementation of a new collaborative project. Alright, we have talked about the suggested strategies. Now let me share some of other stories of mine to further reinforce the strategies. At the time that I started to work on multiple projects, One thing that I have tried is to make the plan of work on a specific project at particular days in the week. For example, I plan to work on project 1 on Monday and Tuesday, and then work on project 2 on Wednesday, and then project 3 on Thursday, and etc. However, after a few weeks of trial, it didn't really work out because I'm moving too slow on the most urgent projects, and I really need more time for it. Also, it's easy to feel that you do not make any large progress on any of the projects. Because implementation and experiments really need time, and frequent switch between projects and code bases can lead to additional time to recap, like after every time you switch. So this is like a negative example. I have gave up at the end. And now I'm honest, I mostly just focus on one main project in a week. In other words, devote most of my time to it, and then shift to other project next week if needed. My other story is about project reunion strategy I mentioned before. This is one positive example I would like to share. When I was doing my master and early PhD, there are courses for computer vision, deep learning, 3D geometry, and etc. So most of them have a big course project at the end, in addition to the assignments. Typically, 2 or 3 students might group up as a team to make a large project feasible. But since I already have 2 research projects in progress, and I do not really have bandwidth to open a new project with others, so I just reuse the results and paper I had from my research project. I just submit them as a report to this course. And similarly for the final presentation, since I already have made slides for my research project. Typically, I don't think this is a problem as long as the research topic is applicable to your course. But to be safe, it's always a good idea to ask the TA. At the end, this leaves me more time to work on the research I have. After talking about the story, the key takeaway is that we really need to focus on the main project for a period of time in order to make it complete and strong. This can be a week or 2 or even a few months, depending on your responsibility for other things. To that end, we can turn down new projects that are beyond our capacity or reuse projects to save time and sometimes to push other non-urgent projects later if possible. Okay, those are topics I have covered in this talk. I hope that my story and suggestions are helpful to at least some of the students. And here are more topics to discuss for junior students. In fact, I have made slides for some of the topics already, but I realized later during recording that telling a story for each of the topic really takes some time and can make this talk too long. So I have cut them off at the end. But if you are a junior student and really interested in discussing these topics with me, feel free to send me an email. I will be happy to talk to you. Also, different people can have really different suggestions for either PhD applications or early stage research. So it's a good idea to keep talking to others, such as your seniors, and learn from different perspectives. All right, that concludes my talk. Thanks everyone for listening.